down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Shuck it, ducks. I know it's been way too long. I have been in hiatus. I don't know what I have been. I've actually been grinding it out behind the scenes with some wonderful people that I have God has brought into my world, into my life. Oh, I forgot. You tuned into the Savvy Radio Show. Bang, bang. I haven't forgot about you. I still have robust goals of cranking out podcasts that will only inspire, give you the content that you need, and not play around. And it's been about 2 weeks, and I'm like, man, I got to do a podcast. I've actually written about maybe 15 of them, and for some weird reason, I haven't been motivated to drop them until today. I was getting ready to get into the studio with a great friend of mine, and we're working on a phenomenal project, whatever you want to call it, called coaching. And it's Matt Blagg. And I was like, I don't know if anyone has ever really met this guy. I've spent a lot of time with him. He's like my secret weapon. He's my confidant. Like the stuff that I tell him, you need this in your world, folks. You need men and women in your world that you can just be authentic with and just, man, I'm mad, or I'm frustrated, or I struggle. And, Matt's that guy for me. He's a genuine article, fighting the fight like anyone else. And he has totally different gifts and talents than I have. So I've actually known Matt Blagg probably to 15 years or more, which is, I don't know if you know this. And I've known Matt in the music industry. We've crossed paths many times. As I was a concert promoter, and Matt has been a performer for more than 20 years, and we've never really connected. I've seen his face forever. I've probably seen him on stage several times and just never connected the dots until real estate. And it's really cool to, and Matt just told me this crazy story about how we truly met. But I've just known Matt for over 20 years. I've known Matt at the local real estate club, and then he would come to classes and he would just become better. And it's very rare to meet people that want to be better. And then I'm like just sitting down with him. Today I just found out that he's done over 20 flips. I know that you're a wonderful rehabber, and I've seen your work several times. And so that's my side of how I know you. How do you know me?
Well, hi, everybody. Matt Blagg here, and I'm really glad to be here on this podcast. I'm glad to be here with my friend Steven, and I'm glad to be here with you guys that are tuning in, because that means that you want to learn too, and you're the type of people that I want to be around, the type of people I want to learn from, the type of people I like to teach and maybe share some things I've learned. And Steven has been that kind of person for me for several years, since I've been in the real estate investment circles, which I've done since 2006. Started going to OKC RIA. I started hearing about this guy called Savvy Landlord. What's that all about? And then one day he had his book, sitting out at OKC RIA, and was just giving it away. Actually, it was like how many questions, 300 questions for real estate. And so I got that book and looked at it and read it. And then you have your other one called the Savvy Landlord. And so I was like, I like this guy. And then I came to Landlord Lunch and some of your classes, and I heard you speak. And one of the things that drew me to you was that you're genuine. It's all right out there. I feel like you're not hiding anything. And you're willing to tell people, here's what I'm struggling with. And that's the type of person I want to learn from. That's the type of person I want to be. So I think that's what drew me to you. And I do remember I wanted to get to know you better. So I got your number, I think, from Sean McVicker or someone, and Savvy Landlord, and I don't even know if I knew your real name. It's just a Savvy Landlord. So I texted you and said, hey, can we do lunch? And you texted me back and said, well, why don't you read my book first and then we'll talk. So we can have an intelligent conversation. I was like, okay, fair enough.
That was super arrogant.
It wasn't. It didn't come across arrogant.
But
it
in
came
my
across
mind now, when you brought that up earlier, I was like, what the hell? I can't believe I even said that.
That's because you know me now. Then you didn't know me. I was just this guy.
I think it was a weird time in my life.
You hadn't connected all the dots yet. You didn't know, okay, he's that musician guy I met, all those years ago.
No, but I would never say that today. And I just think that, I think a lot of people were bombarding me with like using me. Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? I'm like, well, read a few books. I think you were just in line of me being frustrated with people not really, they just want they don't want to put the work in.
Maybe I just came to the RIA Club meeting for the first time and I want it all to happen right now. You didn't know I've been coming already for 10 years.
Yeah, and I was getting those inquiries like, oh, could we go to coffee to do nothing?
Right.
Like I'm all about hanging out, and that's why I do the landlord lunch and do these events, but people don't want to put the work in.
Well, I'm not really all just hanging out. I'm not a good hanger
not
out.
you,
I'm like,
but
if you want to hang out with me, we got to have a purpose. We got to have a reason. We got to be spending our time wisely. And I respect that. So I thought, okay, fair enough. I read all your books.
That's crazy.
The green one, the yellow one, the red one, the pink one, whatever ones you have. And,
the pink one's awesome. That's the cover of ours.
The pins are going to be pink or fuchsia. So I read all your books and then I understood you more. So when we did finally connect, and it was just through, I think when you are supposed to meet someone, it's going to happen. I have that feeling. Like I meet some people and we get to know each other quickly because I'm like, I don't know how long this is going to happen or how long we're going to be in each other's lives. So we'll get to know each other quickly. But there's some people where I think, okay, you're going to be my friend the rest of my life. And we have time to get to know each other. And we're going to take our time and make it meaningful. And not feel like I have to tell you everything this one 30-minute meeting, because we're going to have another one. You know, Lord willing, we're going to get to know each other. So
let's get into this. I don't mean to interrupt, because you said something that is very powerful. I ran into someone the other day, and someone said this to me, and I'm curious. So if you don't know Matt, we're going to get to know him. But Matt is a celebrity in massive circles of ministry, music. He's traveled the world, has been on tour, has 6 albums out, right?
Yes,
is it 6?
That's right.
Okay. I mean, you can get on iTunes right now and type in Matt Blagg, Blagg, and his songs will pop up. It's phenomenal. I mean, just think about it logically. Like, people don't know. But here's a question. Let's just start off and let's just get educated. Okay. And then we'll get back to who you are.
Okay.
But this came up to me yesterday. How do you get into the, like, people look at me because, like, that was an arrogant thing. Read my book, right? I mean, that bothers me that you said that earlier. Like, for real. Like, I'm bummed by that. But it's
don't
okay.
Be bummed.
No, but I'm glad that we're friends. Like, but I think other people, if I've said that to somebody else, I probably offended them. Now, that's okay. You may not like me. That's okay.
Yeah.
But someone said this to me that was very powerful, and I want to know how you would handle this. Okay? Since you've met real celebrities, you've traveled the world, you've been first class, you've been all in other continents. Stephen, he you can't get in his circle, or he's too like you don't understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So how do you defunk that? How do you get in people's circle? You freaking call them.
You call them.
You reach out to them.
Yeah.
You might write them a letter. You might actually
Exactly.
buy their book and say, "Hey, would you mind signing it?" You know, I'm humbled. I don't want you. People don't come up to me, all right, about the book. But I'm just saying, like, I was so offended that someone said like people think of me that I'm arrogant because I'm successful or because I'm busy at that moment, maybe ministering or talking to some lady that needs help, that she's just got burned by her contractor, and it takes 30 more minutes at the landlord lunch, and I can't help you with your little flunky question. You're going to get mad at me. But how would you handle that? You know, all the success. You told me this awesome story a couple of weeks ago. You made a phone call and you talked to somebody.
Yes, I did.
And who'd you talk to over the phone?
Was that are you talking about
who's this big celebrity you met over, you randomly called somebody and you got their assistant?
Yes.
And they grabbed the phone, and who was that individual?
Yes.
Who was it?
Grant Cardone.
What?
I read Grant Cardone's book, you know, the real estate book, right? And he's trying to get you to invest in Cardone Capital, which is, you know, kind of like a REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, which is really cool. And I was just curious. So I was like, I called this number, and this guy answered, who's his right-hand man. I can't remember what his name is. Starts J or John.
Whatever.
Yeah. So he answered the phone. And I'm asking, all of a sudden somebody grabs the phone and said, "Hey, what's your name?" I said, "My name's Matt." I said, "My name's Grant." And I was talking to Grant Cardone. They were going to a basketball game in a limo, and they were trying to find their way. He's like, "We're trying to find our way. I'm going to have to go here in a second, but I just wanted to talk to you." How cool is that?
But how rad is that? I mean, think about it. You made the connection. I think a lot of people judge people without making an effort. They just assume that he's not good enough, or he's too good. You know, he's too. No, another friend of mine called the famous author, And the guy that wrote the guerrilla marketing books, Jay Livingston, I think his name is.
Jay Livingston.
He called them and the guy answered. And like people are like, well, how'd you get on tour with POD? Well, I just called their booking agent and said, hey, I'm a sound engineer and I would love to offer my services. Yeah. Really? And I bidded a job and I got on tour with POD.
Exactly.
And then building a relationship with POD, being their sound engineer, turned into being being their road manager. And then building a lifelong friendship with them.
Yeah.
Why? Because I just made a phone call.
Exactly. And that's the same thing like with you and me. I saw, the savvy landlord guy. He's got this swagger. He gets up and speaks. I didn't know really.
Probably offended people.
That's okay. One of my mentors early on told me, Matt, you're not going to please everybody. Everybody's not going to like you. But at least let them know why they don't like you.
Interesting.
And that's so whoever you are, whatever you do in life, know who you are, know who you're not, know what your identity is. Everybody's not going to like you, but at least they'll know why. Because if they don't know why, they I don't know why I don't like him. It's like, no, I don't like him because he's loud.
He likes Donald Trump.
He likes Donald Trump, or he likes Obama, or whatever it may be, whatever the case may be. Know who you are and know what you stand for, and drop we all have these preconceived notions that hold us back because there's this person and he may seem like a celebrity to me, or he may seem arrogant to me, or I don't understand him. Or I learned early on that I have these preconceived notions, and sometimes they're passed on to us by our parents, the way we grow up, our preconceived
limiting
notion,
beliefs.
Our notion of ourselves is like, well, I'm not good enough to go know that person, or he won't give me
like
the time of day. And the thing is, I think when you come up to someone and you're genuine, you just say, hey, I'd like to get to know you. Don't assume too much.
Right.
Don't say, okay, we're going to be best friends all of a sudden. You're going to give me, I want you to give me an hour of your time. Just remember, when you come up to people, that time is our most precious asset, and spend their time wisely. I love it that you're always like, I'm willing to help you, but I want you to know what you're asking me. So come to me with this. If you have a specific question, what's something you're going to? Hey, I'm stuck here. I'm having trouble getting financing on this house, or
well, at least Google the crap up.
And know the person you're talking to. Know, okay, this guy he's here, but he didn't get here all of a sudden. He didn't get here overnight. Here's the struggles he went through to get where he's at right now, and that lets you understand that person. So the word here is empathy. When you're trying to get to know people, empathy is trying to see their side of the story, put yourself in their shoes. And when we have that empathy and understanding, conversations with people take on a whole new meaning. And meeting people, like you said, breaking into people's circles, it's you understand, like if I wanted to meet Jay-Z, I'd want to know what Jay-Z's all about.
Read his book.
How did he grow up? Read his book. What's some struggles. And then when I talk to him, I'll understand where he's coming from. And
if you really wanted to meet that person.
Yeah. And what's one of the 7 habits of highly effective people? Seek first to understand, then be understood.
All right. Let's get into Matt Blagg.
Okay.
You're like dropping philosophy here.
Yeah.
I
read your books.
So, where'd you grow up? Where are you from, actually?
You want to hear the Matt story?
I want to know about Matt.
I grew up on a farm out in western Oklahoma.
So you're born here?
Yes, I'm a native Okie. I love Oklahoma. I've lived here my entire life. I almost moved to Nashville in 1998. I'm getting very close to that, but I chose to remain here because my family's here. I love this place. I love Oklahoma. I love Oklahomans. I love Okies. I love our heritage, and this is a good place to travel from. So growing up on a farm, I had great parents. I learned a really strong work ethic growing up on a farm. My parents loved me. They taught me. They did the best they could, and they did a great job. I couldn't ask for better parents. My dad was a musician. He was a guitar player, and he was
Did he
kind
teach
of
you guitar?
Oh yeah, he taught me music, taught me how to listen, taught me how to play. He was always playing in different bands. From the time I was little, I remember I'd go with him when he played.
Like country music.
It was kind of country stuff. Early on he had this kind of like 3-piece band. They were kind of like Buddy Holly and the Crickets, and they played sock hops and proms and dances like in early late 50s, early 60s, and he had this this really cool Gibson guitar. He bought it new in 1957 with his harvest money, and that that guitar's been a fixture my entire life. And I actually have that guitar now. My dad passed away two and a half years ago, so I have his guitar now. And
do you play it?
Oh yeah, every day I play it, and it's like the guitar and I are kind of looking at each other like, what do we do now? It's like, let's get to know each other. Let's start, So
when you play it, do you feel like you're talking to your dad?
Absolutely. I wrote a song for my dad. I wanted to write a song for my dad, but instead of it being another 1,000 guy writes a song about his dad, I wrote it from the guitar's point of view. So it's the guitar talking, telling this story, So
cool.
Yeah, I always would go with my dad when he played music, and some of my earliest memories are, I'd go with him and they would play and I'd fall asleep over in the corner, and next thing I know, my dad's carried me back in the house. So that's how I got into music, and that's what I did, even starting in high school. I chose music instead of sports because I was a lot better at music than football, and I'm glad because I can still walk, and it just kind of snowballed. I majored in music in college and just kept going, and it just kind of snowballed, and because I would take every opportunity that came along, and I would go do it and do the best I can. And when you do that, things tend to snowball. You get networks. So in whatever you're doing, if it's music, if it's real estate, if it's business, you have that. And that's what happened with me. I just had all these opportunities that came along, and I would say yes, and I would go do it and do the best I could and try to knock it out of the park. And things have a way of finding their own way, just like a river.
I'm extremely interested in this scenario. How did you become entrepreneurial? Most musicians that I have worked with through I was in the industry for about 10 years.
Right.
They were creative, wonderful, amazing people, but they were getting taken advantage of from other managers or publishers or record deals. Yeah. And I've very few, I would say in 5% of, were even entrepreneurial in general.
Yeah.
They live to play music. Like they would make $100 and that would be it.
That was me for many years.
So, but how'd you become entrepreneurial?
I think that gene, I've always been kind of what we call a horse trader. I would, I'd have something and I'd trade it for something else and try to trade up. And I love the art of the deal, like structuring a deal, because it's problem solving, and I love solving problems. And that served me well when I was on the road full time, because you have to learn to think on your feet and have to learn to be resourceful because, I don't have a budget, but I still need to get this done. How do I do that? That served me well in music.
Just producing records costs money.
I didn't have a budget, so I had to figure out, how do I do this? So you pre-sell records, right? And then there's your budget. People want what you have, so you pre-sell it. And this was before Kickstarter and GoFundMe.
Sure.
I was doing my own Kickstarter, GoFundMe, 20 years ago, before we had the internet even. But people who believe in what you do, I'd say, hey, I want to make this record. Would you buy one? Help me fund this. And it worked. So for literally almost 20 years, that's all I did was play music. And looking back, it's such a blessing to have been able to chase my dream. Chasing a dream's a weird thing because sometimes you don't even know when you catch it. And a lot of times you think, it's got to be this. I have to get signed to a record deal. I have to be on the radio. I have to be in Nashville for it to be successful. And I don't agree with that, because I look back at the fact I was able to do what I love to do. I was able to support my family. I have a wonderful family. I have a wife and 3 kids. And I was able to put food on the table now.
And travel the world.
And do what I love to do. Now, it was not easy, because when you, as you know, Stephen, you're self-employed, you're kind of an entrepreneur because you have to build your own brand.
Yeah.
If you want this to happen, you do your own booking, your own marketing, or you have to learn how to outsource that. So I think I learned how to be an entrepreneur just out of necessity, because I wanted to make a living playing music, and you have to learn how to. Sure. And I had to learn. So
your desire was strong enough for you to overcome the insecurities.
Exactly.
What a lot of people have towards entrepreneur. They don't think they're worthy enough.
Yeah.
So you were forced. You had to be. You had to sell stickers, or you had to sell shirts, or
I had to sell myself because I did my own booking. No one, a lot of artists they want somebody to, they think, okay, I'm going to get an agent and they're going to make me a star. No, you have to be your own star. Well, all that agent's going to do is they're going to take a cut of that because you've already got it in place.
It's so funny when you mentioned it, like a lot of artists, they just want to get signed. They think when they get onto a record label, and I've had friends that get on major labels and go nowhere.
Absolutely.
And so that's not the pinnacle, just getting signed. It's about working your band.
Working your butt off too. And you have to believe in what you're selling. And you're in sales, believe it or not. I was in sales because I had to get on the phone because I knew it was a numbers game. If I want to do this many concerts, it takes this many phone calls.
Cool.
Sometimes not. And I try not to do cold calls, but I had to be willing to get on the phone and call up this person and say, hey, my name's Matt Blagg. I'm a singer-songwriter. Can I have a minute of your time? And I'll be quick here. Let me just tell you about what I do. Here's why I think you should have me come to your festival, to your church, to your event. And I think I have this to offer because I believed in what I was selling, because that's what I was called to do. And I believed in it.
Dude,
so
I love it.
So I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn to be on the phone. And
Man.
it really, when I was in high school, I ran for student senate. I think I was student vice president. And I was new. I moved there in high school. I'd only been there a year. So I was running for this, and an upperclassman asked me, Matt, are you going to vote for yourself? And I was trying to be all humble, and say, I don't know. And he said, well, if you won't vote for yourself, why should anyone else vote for yourself? And I was like, boom. Okay, that was a big lesson for me. So you believe in what you do, you should not have a problem selling it to people. And so if you're listening to this podcast, whatever you do in life, if it's real estate investing, believe in it. You have that desire that's going to drive you to do the difficult things. Get on the phone, make that call that most people wouldn't do because they're scared. Or they want to take the path of least resistance. So I was able to make a living. I found a niche. I traveled. A lot of what I did is in gospel music, and I sang in churches really all over the world. But it was kind of smaller to medium-sized churches that needed what I could do, because I was able to bring everybody together, all the different age groups, the kids, the youth, the parents, the older people, to bring them together and encourage them, because people need encouragement. And I felt like, okay, that's what I do. So when I call people, I'd say, here's what I'm able to do.
And you also played a lot in prisons as well, right?
I've done prison ministry. I kind of fell into that. That's a whole nother story, but I've been doing that since 1997. So I've been in prisons all over the United States and going in and just play rock and roll and encourage them and say, listen, God loves you and has a plan for your life. That's been a really cool thing. And I've had, I'm a trumpet player. I'm a singer-songwriter. I play guitar and sing, but I'm also a trumpet player. That's opened up lots of doors for me over the years that I never thought would be possible. I've had the chance to play trumpet for groups like the Temptations, the Four Tops, the Drifters, and Aretha Franklin.
Cool.
So I look back on all these doors that have opened for me, for this kid that grew up on a farm out in western Oklahoma. So I did that for 20 years. Sometimes we lived gig to gig. I would play with different bands, to help fill in the gaps. Sometimes you have to do what it takes to fill in the gaps, like, okay, my concert calendar is kind of bare right here, so I'm going to take some gigs with different bands. I'm going to take some studio sessions doing background vocals or piano stuff or horn stuff. And then I did that for 20 years. And then towards the end of that, it was kind of like this switch just kind of went off and it kind of wound down. And the way I got into real estate investing is interesting. My dad was a contractor, commercial contractor.
So that was his day job?
That was his day job. And I worked for him a couple of summers during high school, but it was like concrete work all summer long, or roofing and all this stuff. And that was when I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to college because I don't want to be doing this. So my first part of real estate in that building commercial was not like, that's not what I want to do. But the thought of, I've restored old cars my whole life, old motorcycles. I love taking something new, even old lawnmowers, taking something old and making it look new. So I think that's where I got my love of flipping, because that's what you're really doing. You're taking this ugly house and making it beautiful.
So how did you get the bug for real estate? Your dad was a contractor, so you were around that, but you didn't connect the dots. Was it like a book that you read, or was it a seminar that you went to?
It was a seminar in 2006, August. I think it was August of 2006. It was called the Get Motivated Seminar. And I don't know, I just heard an advertise. Really, here's what started it. In the year 2000, my father-in-law gave me the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You could probably almost guess that, because everybody that gets into this starts with that book, don't they?
Yeah.
They say, if somebody gave me Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or they gave me 4-Hour Work Week or a Slight Edge. So that book started it for me in the year 2000, because before that, I couldn't tell you what an IRA was or a mutual fund. I didn't know anything about real estate investing and investing in general. I just wanted to go write a song and sing for people. And money was a necessary evil. But something changed when I started realizing that money is not an evil thing. Money is a tool. And I should learn how to use that, because if I learn how to use this tool, I can do a lot of things a lot better. I can affect more people. I can help more people. I can do things on a bigger scale and have more of an impact in this world. So I thought, I want to start learning about this thing called money. And that started me on this journey.
And so it was kind of seed planted through this book. And then you went to this super duper seminar, which I was at that seminar, just so you know.
Zig Ziglar spoke, which I thought was really cool, because I took his class in high school, called See You at the Top, you get the round to it and all that stuff. And I thought it was really cool, because not long after that, Zig Ziglar passed away. So to get to hear him speak was really cool. I remember who all spoke. It was really good. And it really opened my mind up to a lot of things about money. But during this seminar, they had this little 3-day, $99 real estate workshop that you go to.
I think it was like Jay Smith.
It was Russ Whitney.
Oh, Russ Whitney. Okay.
Behind all of it. He was the guy behind it pulling strings. Oh, they didn't tell you that. Well, you went to this 3-day seminar. I thought, okay, $99. And I went to it and I learned some things. I learned you could do this thing called a wholesale and assign a contract. I'm like, what? You can do that? Really? And I was asking all these questions. I didn't realize then that these gurus, and
they were trying to sell you.
They were trying to upsell me to their $15,000 boot camp in the Bahamas. Then you get to spend the day with Russ Whitney or whatever. I didn't know who Russ Whitney was then, but I know all these gurus now, who they are. But I happened to be sitting by this guy, and I'm going to say his name. His name's Jason Simpson. He was from Norman. He was a cop in Norman, and he was one of the original people who started OKC RIA. And I'm forever grateful to Jason Simpson, because he was sitting next to me and seeing this, and he said, "That's BS. You don't need that." He said, "This $15,000. Look, you come with me to OKC RIA." So I said to him, "Can I buy you lunch today?" I said, "I'll pay for it. I just want to hear more about this."
Cool.
And that was 2006. I started going to OKC RIA. So grateful we have great RIA clubs here in Oklahoma City, MP RIA, OKC RIA, and I started learning. And what it did this for me was all these years traveling, playing music. Yeah, I made a living, but that's about it. And I learned I didn't really dream big enough in the beginning. I followed my dream, but I could have dreamed bigger if I had it to do over again. And plus, nothing set back for retirement, no plans for the future, nothing to help my family. So I thought, okay, this is a way I can do that. Real estate investing.
And so that was your driver at that time, was like, man, I don't have a backup plan for my retirement.
I didn't.
And that's interesting, because that's similar to how I really was my thriving force. I knew that the government wasn't going to take care of me, and I was self-employed individual. I need to have something of sort of a retirement. Okay, so that was your driver at that point.
Yeah.
Now, how in the world did you get into flipping? I mean, 20 units later, I mean, even if you did one a year, that's 20 years. So you've obviously done several at one time.
Well, yeah, I came off the road at the end of 2006. It's like this switch, and because that's all I'd ever done. I hit the ground running every day. I knew what I was supposed to do, but then I kind of ran out of vision. And all I knew was, this is where I'm at now, and I have this opportunity, and I want to learn. So I was going to RIA club meetings. I was meeting realtors, investors, bankers, and just learning this whole thing and networking and getting inspired by people. I think that's when people get into real estate investing, the one big word I think is hope, because it gives them hope to say, okay, I can have a future. I can provide for my family, or I'm in this dead-end career that I don't like. The hope is that I have the freedom. It's what real estate can provide. And like I told you earlier, I love the art of the deal. It's like a treasure hunt. You find this treasure, you learn how to schedule a deal, to
what's even like the deals you're talking about today.
Exactly.
These are like just for you to do this latest acquisition, just to get the deal done.
Just to have the courage to think, could I really do this package deal? I've never done a package deal before. I'm going to call this guy and say, hey, and learning how to analyze that, learning to talk to people. You just take a step, it's taking action. So my first flip, and it's weird that people think real estate investing, they automatically think flip, because we've had this conversation before. Flipping is really the most difficult, riskiest way to make money.
Flipping, just
you
FYI.
are. I know. Steven's trying to help me get over my flipping addiction, but I love doing it. I love taking something old and making it look new.
I did like 2 weeks ago. You asked me to say a question. I'm like, no, hold this. I thought we had this conversation over with.
We did. I knew the answer when I asked you, but I had to ask you anyway.
I was like, no.
Yeah, but Steven, I could make
$50,000
on this deal easy. And isn't that always the way it is going into flip? I could make this, and then afterward, did you make that? No, I made this, but.
Well, and just speaking of this great flip that you're telling me about, is like, I think a pivotal learning process here is that you can have access to that $50,000 on your balance sheet, considered equity, and you can borrow against it later. That's one thing I think I can start converting a lot of flippers. Listen, I know you want the big chunks of cash, and you can get that cash, but if you hold that asset, it's in a different tax bracket.
Yeah.
And you will have ability to get to that equity, not in the beginning like that big check, but you can borrow against it later or use that to get into another deal.
Yeah.
What happens is with these flippers that I see is that they get this $50,000 or $30,000 deal or cash check, and they just squander it away. And then they got to start all over again.
Yeah. Or you use it to live on. And it's like, okay, I got to start all over again here. And then you're under the gun again.
Well, how about you? Like you've done 20 deals. I don't mean to slap you here, but let's just say you did an average of $20,000 per deal. I know you enough that I know you kind of do that average. Yeah. That's $400,000. Where's that $400,000?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Where's it at?
No offense.
Yeah. Well, if I did drugs, if I did cocaine, I could say that's where it went. But I don't do drugs.
And you got enough instruments.
Yeah, I got enough instruments. That's a really good question.
And you're frugal with your cars?
I am. I drive old cars.
You're not driving some Porsche?
Mm-hmm, exactly. I didn't finance a hot tub. I didn't. So it just goes living, poof, it's gone.
Well, things happen. Vacations, life.
Like
children.
if you got $1,000 and put it in your checking account, what's going to happen? Poof,
it's gone.
It goes. So
that's why I buy houses, because I can't I can't get the money out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But I've never been in a position where I had to be desperate to sell it.
But flipping was kind of like the gateway drug to real estate investing. It's like you get into
your title.
It. It's the gateway drug. and not only that, this, when I got into flipping, we didn't have all the HGTV shows and Discovery channels and all that, thankfully. But, having worked construction before, I had an idea of what it took, because I worked construction for a year early on when I was first married. My wife and I were first married because I needed some money, and their music thing wasn't rolling enough yet. But so I worked for this guy, and we rehabbed lots of old houses. I knew how nasty it was. I knew you're going to dusty and dirty and dangerous and all that. But the first house I did was literally 5 houses down the street from my own house. And that was in 2007 when I flipped my first house. And it was nasty. The lady had cats, so their cat pee, and we had to take everything. Hair. The hair, the smell, had to take the carpet up, the tack strips, the baseboard, and nuke it 5 times, Clorox and all that, But to get to see, and my kids were small then, but they helped me. I made, because it's right down the street from our house. It was great learning for them. We called it the Stinky House. So we rehabbed the Stinky House, and they got to see it become this beautiful house. And this young married couple bought it, and
on the same street that you live on.
The same street that I lived on.
Did you feel a little awkward that there may be a complaint?
It crossed my mind.
Okay.
It did cross my mind, and I thought,
great.
I hope
these people are going to roll down the street and be mad at me.
But I am like, sometimes I'm a perfectionist to a fault. That comes, I think, is the artist thing. The right brain artist is like, I can tunnel vision in on this thing and forget the whole world, which is not good, but I can do that. And I tend to do that with flips. I've had to learn how to look at it, more holistically across the board, not get tunnel vision. But my attention to detail, everybody that looks at my houses, they say, okay, the attention to detail is what sticks out here. So I was proud of it. And I'm proud that I was through there in Norman's where I lived for 18 years, and I did my first flips there. And I can drive by that house and see that family still lives there. Now they have little kids, like 3 little kids playing out in the yard and the swing set. So that brought a lot of, satisfaction to
joy,
me. Fulfillment, and
I remodeled that, and these people are enjoying that property.
I gave these people, this little family, a nice place to live. So that's the joy about real estate investing. Is, for me, I'm a people person. I love people. So if I can tie real estate investing to people and realize I'm actually helping people. The Lou Brown guy that was at MP Rio a couple weeks ago, I loved what he said. He said, I'm an affordable housing provider. I'm giving people affordable housing instead of I'm just this real estate investor. I'm money grubbing. All I care about is the profit. I care about people. So if the two go hand in hand, how cool is that? And there's a couple of years there before I really dived headlong into real estate investing and learned everything I could. I did some wholesale deals. I did several flips.
Were you doing flips all at one time, or were you getting overwhelmed?
I got overwhelmed because I had 3 projects going at once. And I learned a lot, because I learned a lot about project management. I learned how, the things that hold you up when you flip a house are schedules. scheduling. If you can schedule it out and know that, okay, before I even close on this, I should have some bids from contractors. And not only that, it's like, well, what if you don't know any contractors? Okay, that's elementary. You should already have that. You should already have those people in your Rolodex, on your phone, in your contacts.
So you're working.
Right?
So your advice to
nobody
folks
knows
now,
what a Rolodex is anymore. I need to stop saying that.
But for your advice, if you're going to be a flipper, get ready to be prepared.
Be prepared.
Get your whole spreadsheet full of contractors.
Your whole spreadsheet full of subs. If you're gonna GC contract this yourself
Before you even do a deal.
Exactly. Before you know the deal, you need to have those contracts already at the ready and establish relationships with them. They should know you. That you shouldn't call them out of the blue and say, "Hey, I'm this guy. I don't know. You don't know me." If you meet them already, you say, "Hey, here's what I do. Would you be willing to help me if I get a house under contract? Would you come give me a bid? I'd like to, give you the chance to bid on this contract." And you have to know what you're wanting to do. You have to go through the house and make a detailed list and realize there's these things that are going to come up at the end that we didn't think about. If I can think about those at the beginning, that makes this project go smoother.
Now, you as a creative person, what's your favorite part of this process?
My favorite part of the process is taking something old and making it look new, because that's the artistic, the same part of me that likes to restore
the end result,
a 57 Chevy or whatever,
so you have
or an
a
old
vision.
Harley. Yeah.
So to articulate it, he's like, you have a vision. You can make money. Everyone else is passing by this house because it's so ugly or stinky.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, I can fix that.
Yeah.
And make it pop.
I like solving problems. I'm a problem solver. I like the challenge of making this. What can we do to add value to this house? Like, what if we added a second bathroom? How can you do that? When you get into this, you don't know that you can move walls. You're like, what? You can move a wall?
Yeah.
Holy cow! You can move a wall.
Add another bathroom, there. Bedroom.
I can make this closet into a bedroom. To a bathroom. Really? You can do that? It's like, yeah, crawl space houses. You can do about whatever you want to do, right? Even slab houses. You may have to jackhammer up some concrete, but guess what? They pour new concrete. And one of the wildest deals I ever did was I got a house moved. I bought this house from a house mover. This school was landlocked and they needed some land, so they bought this house and they hired this house mover to move the house so they could build a parking lot. Well, I bought this house from the house mover, and my price from him included him sitting it on a pad. So it was a little.
Well, how much was it?
It's a little 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. It wasn't as much as you'd think, really. Because
give me that.
think about
do you remember?
The house mover. I don't know if they even. I think they just gave him the house if he would move it, right? So whatever he got was gravy from me, and it's his, and he's already set up to do that. So timing was a thing, because he's like, "Hey man, I got to have this off here, so you got to have this, ready, lot prepped and ready in a pad." So we, it was really wild. We went and took measurements of this house, and then my foundation guy went and took measurements of this house, and then they built this foundation, exact footprint of the house. The dude sawed the garage off, moved it separately, and then set it on the pad. And that was probably my most extensive deal, because that was almost like building a new house, because I had to do lot prep. I had to pull permits and inspections on everything.
Wow. So you bought a lot?
I found this 1-acre lot. And that's the cool thing. I was thinking, okay, I can change the 3 most important things about real estate: location, location, location. I can put this house in a great location and double or triple its value. It was just wild.
And you flipped that house?
I did. It was just.
Well, first of all, answer the question: how much did you buy that house for?
I bought that house for $15,000, $15,000,
and that was delivered.
That delivered.
This is almost like Amazon.
It is. It's like Amazon. Yeah, they had it there in 3 hours. No, it wasn't. It wasn't quite that quick. I wish it was.
And so you had to learn how to.
That was a
clear
big
an
learning.
Area,
yeah, learn how to
pour a slab. Get the utilities there.
It was a crawl space house, so they just did like a cinder block foundation, stem wall.
Oh, and they dropped it on there.
Yeah. And then
Did you have like photos of this?
Yeah, I've got photos, and I'll share those when like at Investor Weekend. I'll have pictures of some of my deals. And this is one I'm going to say, here's the garage and here's the house, and then
I've always
have
wanted
my
to
contractor
know about this.
Tie it back together. It seemed like we spent a week up in the attic tying the house back together, and I had a structural engineer come and look at it and say, here's what you need to do to make this right, and it became as a cute little house, a little 3-bedroom, 1-bath.
Did you remember what you sold it for?
I broke even, and I'll tell you why. This was the fall of 2008. And this was before I learned about market cycles, Stephen. That was a crash course in market cycles. I was like, why did I not make money on this flip? Here's why. It was a market cycle. Everybody remembers what the market did. Yeah. If you didn't,
I overpaid back then.
Didn't, go watch the movie The Big Short, and then I'll tell you exactly what I was fighting. I've learned to watch these little
indicators,
market indicators. I've learned how to do that because I've been in this for 12, 13 years now, and we've gone through a couple market cycles, and that was very valuable. So I viewed that. I did break even.
Would you do it again?
No, I wouldn't. And I'll tell you why. It's
not because of the money, just because of the labor?
The money, the labor, the fact that you're almost building a new house. And you're much better served just to find an existing house because you don't have to do things over again. You don't have to get a new foundation.
Yes.
You don't have to get, and a house gets, it kind of get damaged in transit. It doesn't matter what, if it's a mobile home or whatever, you're going to have drywall damage. And
my mentor told me, he said, why build when you can make something better and it's cheaper, and take someone else, like depreciation. They've already did all the hard work.
Right.
I learned that from my mentor.
Yeah.
And that's why I never have an interest in building.
Now, if you could take a house that's already in an area that's not quite so desirable, and maybe triple its value by putting it somewhere. If you happen to have a lot that's in a really desirable place, and it makes it totally, I could see how that might work. But what I have learned is that scheduling and flipping, like when you first start a flip, you need to already have your windows ordered, because it's going to be like 2 weeks, because otherwise you're going to get there and you're going to be held up waiting on those windows to get ordered. So things like that you learn from experience, and that's some things I'm going to teach about at Investor Weekend, to say, here is kind of a timeline. And if you can follow this timeline, you're going to have a lot better chance of getting this project done on time and on budget, and have a better chance of making money.
Mm-hmm. So, did you have mentors back then before you met me? But how'd you learn to be a flipper? I mean, by trial and error? Trial and
error. I made lots of mistakes. I'm going to talk about those mistakes when I teach at Investor Weekend.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about how I met, there was one guy who was a realtor, and he said, I think he could tell that I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm forever grateful to him. And he said, you need to go see this guy named Pat Poynton. You know Pat, because he comes to our meetings, and I love Pat. And Pat's forgotten more about real estate than I'll ever know, because he's done it all,
Yes.
developing, mortgage broker, flipping. He's done sub-2 deals. He's done lease options.
Amazing.
He's done it all. And Pat did this radio show, you remember, on KTOK on Saturday mornings?
Real Estate Magic.
Exactly, real estate. And I never was able to go to he did these boot camps or workshops on Saturdays. I'm a musician, right? I'm working weekends. So I said, Pat, I can't come to your thing, but can I pay you, and maybe you, and I talked him into kind of doing a one-on-one with me, and I basically rode around in his truck with him for a week.
Wow.
And I learned a ton, and he introduced me to people.
Dude, you're savvy.
He introduced me to Russell Hunt at Carpet Depot. He's like, here's where you buy your carpet. Here's the Jack Pratt signs. Here's where you get your signs. Here's what not only that, he
just cut your curve way down.
He cut my curve way down, and he had a stack of MLS listings we go look at every day. And 2008, there were lots of
foreclosures,
lots of REOs on the market.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought a couple of them during that time. We looked at so many of them. I bought a couple, and they were just stone cold deals. And Pat basically told me, if you don't buy this, I'm gonna. So I bought them, and I ended up, I think one of them I bought, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And it was a great deal. This was before I got into rentals. Back then, I was scared to be a landlord, because I didn't know about it. I didn't know how to be a landlord, and it scared me. Maybe it was my gypsy nature being a musician. I didn't want to be off
locked down.
I didn't want to be off in Rhode Island, and I get a call. Hey, the water heater just blew up in the middle of the night or something. I didn't want that. I was scared of that, which is a silly fear.
It's normal.
It was a delimiting belief that I had, and I'm so glad I've gotten past that. But at the time, I should have. There's so many. I thought, man, I wish I would have kept that as a rental. I think about where I'm at now, but you can't let that paralyze you and stop you. You think about, hindsight's 20/20. Learn from that. Go on. And I bought these deals from Pat. One of them was this really great deal. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I was looking around, and there was a sign. There's a for sale by owner sign in the basement with someone else's number on it. I got some tape, put that over the number, put my number there. That was a Monday, and I ended up selling it on a Thursday. Made $10,000.
Wow.
So I thought, I like this real estate thing. This is cool, And that was that.
Well,
you could call
I
that
love your forthright
quick flip, right?
You know what? It's amazing. I don't know where you get all that from. Maybe your parents or something. But I've not met anyone that was at all. Basically, what I get from you is, at all costs, I want to learn as fast as possible, connect with the best people as possible.
Yeah.
And it may cost me a little bit more now, but you have the forthright to realize it's going to save you or make you more money later.
Absolutely.
Think about the couple $1,000s that you paid Pat, which probably tickled him.
Yeah.
And he was probably humble, just like I am. When people ask me, and I'm like, I'll coach you. I don't even know how much to charge you. I remember, 6 years ago when I started coaching people, and then I wish I had that kind of candor or boldness that you had. And is that because you were where do you think you got that from? Is that like an educational thing? Like, because most people don't do that. Most people they just do it the hard way. They read books or they fail.
I think I got a lot of that from my dad. Even he was saying early on, like, whatever it was a guitar. It's like, son, get the best you can afford. Tools, right? Tools. He would always say, get the best tool you can afford and you'll never regret it. And I found that to be true. Because think about when you cheap out on something, we cheap out on the wrong things, right? We cheap out and say, if you could buy this food, I want to buy I tell people there's two things I don't mind spending money on: good food and good shoes, right? I hate wearing that yucky shoes that don't fit good.
Well, you're on your feet all day.
You're on your feet all day. So think, because I'm saying this because if you're thinking about flipping a house, there's certain things you should not skimp on, okay? Why in the world would you do this beautiful rehab in this house and then put laminate countertops in it, right? Okay, get granite, okay? You can call L&L Kitchen and Bath. They'll do granite for $25 a foot installed, right? And it's good, thick, 3 centimeter. It looks good. It looks, So why would you skimp? So think about this. You're investing in yourself. And ask anyone, money that you invest in yourself to get better, it not only helps you, it helps your family, it helps the people that you're involved with. So why would you skimp on that?
People get like, they don't think they deserve it. Like, they
think it's self-indulgent or something.
Yes.
It's like,
how'd you overcome that?
Yeah. I learned early on that I think it came from me playing music and booking myself and learning confidence and saying, here's how much it's cost, and not being ashamed of that. Okay.
Yes.
Because sometimes people will think, oh, I'm not worth that, or nobody's ever going to pay me to do that.
This is interesting because I see people buy the $30,000 course because they're trying to buy the silver bullet. They think that they're going to hire this coach and they're going to be a millionaire tomorrow. And then there's the opposite spectrum that the way you're speaking. You're like, how could I become better and hang out with the best people? And
think about it. What you're like, I mentioned earlier,
such a maximum.
It's hope, right? Can you put a price tag on that? You can't. So to me, if I paid Pat Poynton $1,500 or whatever it was 10 years ago, it seemed like a lot, and I didn't have a lot because I was a musician.
But you had this guy that was supporting you.
I had this
You could call him anytime. He got deals from that. You made $10,000 on that one deal.
The other deal I did almost as well too. It took longer, but I still did well. And not only that, Pat was. I just really became a friend to him. And I think I've been that person, like you mentioned earlier, I've been that person that people like to talk to because for some reason I feel like I'm a good listener. And one person at my church told me the other day that says, Matt, when you look at me, I feel seen. And I thought, interesting. That's a really good compliment because
thank you.
I did. I said,
listened
thank
to me.
you. But not only that, I listen to you and I see you and I acknowledge you. And I feel like we shouldn't just be that way for the celebrities or the VIPs that are in the room.
Sure.
My wife's really good about caring for the least of these, the little, people that might get overlooked.
Mother Teresa.
She's like that. But just the fact that someone took that interest in me makes me want to take that interest in other people. Because when I was a newbie real estate investor, people were willing to take the time to talk to me, to help me, to mentor me. And, Pat Poynton took an interest in me and helped me. And not only that, Pat and I we still do lunch today. He likes to go to Mexican food. He loves to eat Mexican food. So we go eat Mexican food and just like talk. Me. So the fact that past that, I gained a friend.
Yes.
And I've helped him, find some deals. The day that Pat Poynton called me and asked me for my opinion, I thought was, oh my gosh. I was like, I felt like I had, come
arrived.
A long ways. I didn't feel like I was arrived, but why is Pat calling me, asking me my opinion? I'm supposed to be calling him. It's an interesting journey that we're on because you come into this wanting to learn, knowing that I don't know anything. I don't want to learn everything of everybody. And it's like the book, The Slight Edge. You do this long enough, sooner or later, you're going to start gaining some traction. And before you know it, people are going to come to you asking you for your advice. And you think, wait, when did that happen?
I know it's humbling.
It happened when I was just... Yeah.
So let's speak to someone. What inspires you today?
Oh man!
Like how do you keep going? I mean, you got a package deal that you're working on, a flip that I told you not to flip.
Yes.
To hold. When you wake up, is it the thrill of the hunt? Is it what inspires you? Is it other people, other investors? Like last night I saw on Facebook that Nathan Cow just sold the deal pretty relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And I know the address, and I looked up the address. I looked at what he bought it. And I know that guy just yielded about 50 G's.
Nathan Cow's like the flipper of all flippers.
Yeah,
around
and I'm
here.
like, it's a 2-bedroom with no garage. I'm like, who the hell is paying $160,000 like off of Classen?
Somebody.
I know.
But he's in
Oklahoma
it.
City
He's
is
in it.
crazy.
He's doing it, and he's got his system, And Nathan Cowell, we can
He
all learn from.
inspires me.
He inspires me. People inspire me. Possibility inspires me. When I wake up every day, literally, I try to be grateful every day. And if you're listening to this, take some time every day and be grateful. And it's amazing what a difference it'll make in your day, in your life. And I say, God, thank you for this new day that's full of possibilities. Help me to make the most of it. So the possibility in each day, I was like, this is a brand new day. The sun's
Something
coming up.
new.
Something new. I don't know what's going to happen.
Cool.
And
Or
not
even
only
like
that,
today. We just decided to do this today.
We decided, let's do a podcast. And I'm like, let's see what happens. And I think that the possibility, the hope, the vision that God's given me. But here's the thing I've learned. Sometimes we have this big vision, but sometimes we don't, right? Have you ever had times where okay, I'm supposed to do that. I'm supposed to start this new business. I'm supposed to raise this much money or help this many people or do a certain thing or write a book. But then sometimes you go through seasons where I don't have that, but I've learned that you can still have purpose, meaning you invest yourself in something that's bigger than you are, right? And I can help people. I can have purpose. I can go serve at Whiz Kids, right? Like you do.
I love it.
Which I love that because that's purpose. So the times you don't have vision, you can still have purpose. So that's
like,
what inspires me.
What inspires you is like, hey, I may gain a little extra wealth, but I can do more with that, and that's what inspires. It's like I was watching this interview the other day with Bill Gates, and I like this YouTuber called Mark Rober. If you don't know him, it's Rober. This guy's from NASA. My son loves him. He's like an engineer. And he just had Bill Gates on his show, which is, this guy's a baller. So let's just be clear. But just like, that's what inspires Bill Gates is to solve like AIDS and to buy more Microsoft. He really has this inspiration to change the world through his process of his day job. All right, so let's transition
Those
to...
kind of people inspire me. That's who I like to be around. I like to be around people like you. I like to be around people that think big, think outside the box, aren't afraid to take risks.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not an engineer, but it's interesting that you say that. I watch this YouTube, Mark Rober, because it inspires me because he's so educated and he's such a great educator. He educates you. Anyway, all right. So,
and I'm an artist, so creativity inspires me.
I mean,
if I write a song, I'm like buzzed for 3 weeks. I want to show everybody. I get, hey, listen to this song.
Like that too. I have that little creativity. Like I like to write, PowerPoints. I like to speak. It's because it help me be creative. I like creating new courses. All right, so we're going to wind this down a little bit. A couple things. One, I do have a few rookies that listen to the podcast, and what advice would you give them? Where'd you failed, or what would you encourage them? You got in out of a purpose because you didn't have a retirement. You lived this great self-employed life.
Yeah.
Hey, it's coming to an end here pretty soon, and you're still a musician, which is great.
Absolutely.
So you get to live your dream still, and you get to be in real estate.
Real estate's going to let me someday soon go back on the road, do original music. And if I make $50 in the tip jar, it's okay. I got passive income coming in from these rental houses.
Well, that's exactly how I got into this game. Did you? I don't know if you. I know you know my story.
Yeah, because you had the DJ business.
But the kid that actually handed me Rich Dad Poor Dad was an 18-year-old kid that played bass in a band called Fillmore.
I remember.
And it was a Christian band in Tulsa, and their dad from Iowa, read that book, gave it to them. They lived in a duplex, and I didn't understand that. I didn't even know what a duplex was, to be honest. I only grew up in an apartment building, and I only thought there was houses and apartments. I never knew that there was a duplex.
Yeah.
And they lived in a duplex, and they traveled the country touring in their little punk band.
Yeah.
And they lived for free. And it blew my mind.
Awesome. I love that.
And, that's
creative. You ask, like, how do I get that entrepreneurial? It's the creativity of it. It's like, it's being resourceful and solving problems.
Yeah, they wanted to live their dream.
They did,
and that duplex allowed them to not worry about their living expenses. So what would you tell someone that's like, okay, Matt, I want to do this. What advice would you give someone today?
First off, find your why.
Good.
Okay? If you can't find your why, it's not going to work for you. You got to tell me why. Why do you want to do this? Not just what you want, but why. What's your why? If you can tie it to that, that's your motivation. That's going to make you do this. And secondly, take action. Don't wait.
Just do it.
That's the biggest. That's the biggest mistake you'll ever make.
Sounds like you just
waiting.
jumped in too. Like you went to this big giant seminar. You went to this little 3-day seminar, and then you got plugged in. You met a guy there that plugged you into the RIA, and so you were just enamored by all these people that were actually doing deals, and you felt like you needed to do a deal. So take action and go to events.
And I felt myself changing in a positive way. I felt myself getting past some limiting beliefs I had, and even some preconceived notions about people with money. For some reason, when you play the starving artist, people with money are necessarily evil, and that's foolishness. That's just foolish. I'm like, because most people have money because they worked hard, and they earned it, and most people that have money are smart and they're frugal and they have a good view of money. They take care of what they have, and they get more, and they help lots of people. And I started thinking, I was wrong about people. All these times I had these preconceived notions. Get past that. Don't just assume because a guy's up there on stage talking at a conference that he would not be willing to talk to you and help you, because most people are willing to help you.
And that's you. And that's going to, coming up, ladies and gentlemen, Matt mentioned this earlier, but April 12th and 13th, 2019 in Oklahoma City, you're going to be one of those guys on a stage.
I know.
And you're not selling anything.
I want to help people. I want to say, here's my journey, and if it helps you, I want to encourage you on that, and then say, if I could be of help to you, here's my card.
And so you're going to talk about actual deals that you've done.
I'm going to show you pictures of actual deals. I'll show you the stinky house before and after.
Yeah, and I think you got about almost an hour on stage.
Right on.
I'm excited about that. And how do people get to know you now? Like, you have a website. It's Matt Blagg, MattBlagg.com.
.com on the World Wide Web. 2 T's and 2 G's. Go to mattblagg.com. You can see about my music.
And what you're doing now, you're kind of lightly coaching right now, right?
I hope so. I hope I'm helping somebody by what we're saying here and encouraging, especially somebody that's getting into this. There were years where I would come to the RIA Club meetings and I wasn't doing a deal, but I still had hope. I knew that someday this is going to start gaining traction, so I kept showing up. And that's the thing. Just keep showing up.
You need to wear a T-shirt that just says hope.
Hope, or show up,
hope, and then show up on the back.
I may do that. Hashtag hope,
All right, I appreciate you, Matt. And I can't wait to see you in like less than 30 days.
Right on.
And you're going to crush it.
I thank you for letting me be a part of it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Investor Weekend is not far off, with over 10 information sessions to increase your portfolio. Log on to www.investorweekend.com. Whether you are a seasoned investor or never purchased a property before, you don't want to miss the Investor Weekend. Join us for a powerful, knowledge-packed weekend with over 10 informational sessions that are bound to enlarge your real estate investments. You will hear from the best national and local real estate investors that will share practical and relevant experiences with you, the investor. There will be several networking sessions to connect with other like-minded people for potential funding, partnerships, and yes, hot deals. Go to www.investorweekend.com. Did you know we meet once a month for the Landlord Lunch Meeting? The third Wednesday of every month. Go to landlordlunch.com.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.